You're losing right now, today. And the worst part is, you're probably losing to someone with a worse product than yours. Better coffee shop closed down. Worse one has a line out the door. Better agency charges less, gets fewer clients. Better candidate doesn't get the job. Less qualified one does. This happens constantly, every day, everywhere. And people call it luck, or timing, or connections. It's not. It's strategy, or the absence of it. Here's the thing.
Most people running businesses are not thinking strategically. They're thinking operationally. There's a difference so enormous, it would make you cry if you understood it clearly. And in this video, you will. The whole system. Let's go.
The fundamental misunderstanding. Strategy is not a plan. Stop calling it that. A plan is, we'll launch in March, hire 2 salespeople, and hit 500K by December. That's a calendar. That's a to-do list. That's operations wearing a strategy costume. Strategy is, why will someone choose us over every other available option? Why will that choice be hard to reverse? How do we make that gap wider over time? One question, 3 parts. Most businesses have never answered it seriously. Here's the problem. If you can't explain in 2 sentences why a customer would choose you and keep choosing you, you don't have a strategy. You have a hustle. Hustles work until they don't. Strategy compounds. That's the difference. Moving on. Competitive advantage. The only game in town. Everything in business strategy collapses into one idea. Competitive advantage. Not brand, not culture, not vision boards. Competitive advantage. The thing that makes you structurally better for a specific customer in a way that's not easy to copy. Michael Porter figured this out properly in 1980. Harvard professor, wrote Competitive Strategy. Basically said, there are 3 ways to win. 3, not 27, 3. Option 1, cost leadership. You make the same thing as everyone else and you make it cheaper. Walmart, Ryanair, Amazon's early years. You win on price because your structure is leaner than anyone else's. The downside? You are one efficiency innovation away from being beaten. Someone always finds a cheaper way. Option 2, differentiation. You make something genuinely different and people pay more for it. Apple, Ferrari, McKinsey charging $500,000 for a slide deck. You win because you're not comparable. The downside? You constantly have to justify the premium. The second people stop believing in the difference, you're gone. Option 3, focus. You pick a narrow slice, a specific geography, a specific customer, a specific need, and you dominate it so completely that no generalist can compete with you. The downside? Your entire world is one market. If that market shrinks, you shrink with it. Here's the trap.
Most businesses try all 3 simultaneously. We're affordable, but also premium, but also specialist. That's not strategy. That's confusion marketed as versatility. Pick one lane. Dig until you hit water. That's strategy.
Why winning isn't enough. So let's say you pick your lane. You build something. It's working. Customers are coming. Revenue is up. Congratulations! You've just rung a dinner bell for every competitor within 100 miles. This is where moats come in. Warren Buffett coined the term, economic moat. The gap between you and everyone trying to eat your lunch. The wider the moat, the longer you survive. There are exactly 5 moat types worth knowing. Network effects.
Your product gets better as more people use it. Facebook in 2008. Every friend who joined made it harder for every other friend to leave. Visa. More merchants accept it because more consumers use it. More consumers use it because more merchants accept it. The moat builds itself. Switching costs. Leaving you is so painful that customers stay even when slightly unhappy. Salesforce. The software is not magic, but after 2 years of data, custom workflows, and trained staff, the cost of switching to a competitor isn't the competitor's price. It's the price plus 6 months of chaos. Nobody pays that. Cost advantages, not we're cheaper. The structural reason you can be cheaper. Amazon's warehouses, TSMC's chip fabrication, a decade of optimizing one specific process until you're running it at a scale nobody can replicate. Intangible assets, patents, regulatory licenses, brand. Coca-Cola's formula is locked in a vault in Atlanta. That's not nostalgia. That's a legal moat. Johnson & Johnson charges more for the same chemicals because of 3 letters, J&J. Efficient scale. You're in a market that's too small to attract a second competitor. Regional utility companies, niche industrial suppliers. The market supports one profitable player. You get there first. Nobody follows because the math doesn't work for them. Now, most small businesses have 0 moats. That's not pessimism. That's a diagnosis. You can build moats, but you can't build what you don't know exists. That's why this matters.
Where your money actually comes from? Here's a question that sounds obvious and isn't. Where in your business do you actually create value? Not where you think you do, where you actually do. Porter, again, same guy, introduced the value chain in 1985. The idea is simple. Every business is a sequence of activities. Some activities create more value than customers care about. Some create enormous value that competitors can't replicate. Your job is to figure out which is which. Textbook version, you have primary activities, logistics, operations, marketing, sales, service, and support activities, HR, technology, procurement, infrastructure. The value you create minus the cost to create it equals your margin. Reality. Most businesses dump resources into activities that feel important but don't create competitive advantage. A restaurant spends a fortune on decor. Customers come once for the decor, they return for the food. The decor was never the value. They just thought it was. The question isn't where are we spending, the question is where are we winning? Those are often different places. Find the divergence. That's your diagnosis. The 5 forces. The environment is trying to kill you. Your strategy doesn't exist in isolation. It exists inside an industry, and industries have physics. Porter's 5 forces. Still Porter. The man had one enormously productive decade. Force 1, threat of new entrants. How easy is it for someone to show up and do what you do? Low startup costs, no regulation, no switching costs, high threat. You could have a great business today and 6 competitors by next year. Force 2, bargaining power of suppliers. If you need something specific from a specific source, they own you. 3 semiconductor manufacturers control global chip supply. Every company that needs chips negotiates from weakness. Force 3, bargaining power of customers. If you have one client worth 70% of your revenue, that client is your boss. They know it, you know it. Strategy means escaping that dynamic. Force 4, threat of substitutes. Not just competitors, substitutes. Blockbuster wasn't killed by a better video store, it was killed by the sofa and a streaming app. The substitute wasn't even in the same industry. That's how most businesses die. Slowly, then from a direction they weren't watching. Force 5. Competitive rivalry. How intense is the fighting inside your industry? Airline industry. Brutal rivalry, low margins, perpetual war, pharmaceutical patents, intense rivalry, but regulated windows of protection that make individual drugs wildly profitable. High forces across the board equals a bad industry for profits. Low forces equal a good one. Smart strategy means picking the right industry or changing the forces in the industry you're stuck in. Let's stop here, because this is where strategy stops being theory and starts costing people everything. The year is 2000. Blockbuster is the undisputed king of home entertainment. 9,000 stores globally, 60,000 employees, annual revenues touching $6 billion. The brand is so dominant that going to Blockbuster is a Friday night ritual for millions of American families. That same year, a small mail-order DVD company called Netflix approaches Blockbuster with a partnership proposal. Reed Hastings, Netflix CEO, flies to Dallas, sits across from Blockbuster's team, offers to sell Netflix to Blockbuster for $50 million. Blockbuster laughs him out of the room. Here's what Blockbuster's strategy actually was underneath all the market dominance. Charge people late fees. In 2000, Blockbuster made $800 million in late fees alone. That's not a business model, that's a hostage situation. Customers hated late fees with a passion that was visible, vocal,
and looking for an exit. Blockbuster knew this. They kept doing it anyway because the fees were 16% of total revenue. Netflix built its entire early pitch around one sentence: no late fees. That wasn't marketing. That was a structural attack on Blockbuster's most hated vulnerability. By 2004, Netflix had 2 million subscribers. By 2007, they'd pivoted to streaming. Blockbuster tried to launch their own DVD by mail service in 2004, years late, poorly executed, then quietly discontinued.
In 2010, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy with $900 million in debt. $50 million. That's what it would have cost. The price of 2 Manhattan penthouses and a very bad year. They said no because they couldn't see the substitute coming. Not from inside the video store, not from behind the late fee counter. The moral? The threat that kills you is rarely the competitor that looks like you. It's the force you dismissed because it didn't feel like competition yet. Positioning, the mental real estate game. Strategy isn't just what you do, it's where you live in your customer's head. Positioning. Ries and Jack Trout defined it in 1981. Positioning is not what you do to a product, it's what you do to the mind of a customer. You don't own market share, you own mental real estate. And mental real estate has one iron rule: first in wins. Who was the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic? Charles Lindbergh, 1927. Who was the second? You don't know. Neither does anyone else. There was one. He was equally brave. He's invisible. Volvo owns safe, not because they're statistically the safest car today, that's debated, because they said safe first, loudest, and never changed the message. The word Volvo and the word safe wired together in human brains across 4 decades. That wiring is a moat. Here's the brutal truth about positioning. Most businesses want to be positioned as high quality, affordable, innovative, reliable, and customer focused. That's not a position, that's a dating profile written by a committee. It means nothing. It sticks to no one's brain. Pick one word. Own it harder than feels comfortable. The discomfort you feel is the positioning working. Strategy versus execution. The war nobody talks about. Here's a problem that will make you feel personally attacked. You can have the right strategy and still lose. A study by the Harvard Business Review found that 67% of well-formulated strategies fail due to poor execution. Not wrong strategy, right strategy, poor execution. The gap between the boardroom slide and the Monday morning behavior of your team. Strategy without execution is a hallucination.
Execution without strategy is a treadmill. Here's where they connect. Every person in your company makes 100 small decisions per day. Those decisions are either aligned with your strategy or they're quietly dismantling it. The receptionist who's rude when you've positioned around service. The account manager who overpromises when you've positioned around reliability. Each small misalignment is a brick removed from the wall you're trying to build.
This is why culture and strategy are inseparable. Not because of motivation posters, because execution lives in behavior, and behavior lives in what gets rewarded. What behaviors does your company actually reward? Not what you say you reward. What actually gets someone promoted, praised, or protected in your organization? Find that list. That's your real strategy. The rest is decoration. Right, let's connect everything. You start with a customer who has a problem. That customer has options. Your entire existence is the answer to one question. Why you, not them? To answer that, you need competitive advantage, cost, differentiation, or focus. One, not all three. To protect that advantage, you need a moat. Network effects, switching costs, cost advantages, intangibles, or efficient scale, built deliberately over time. To understand your battlefield,
You use the 5 forces. Your industry's structure determines how much of the value you create you actually keep. To know where inside your business you're actually winning, you map the value chain. You find the activities that matter. You double down there. You stop wasting resources on activities that feel important but aren't. To occupy your customer's brain, you position with surgical precision. One word, one idea, repeated until it's automatic, and then you execute relentlessly.
Aligned to the strategy. Because the strategy is only as real as the decisions your team makes at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. This is the chain. Every link connects to the next. Pull one out and the whole thing fails. Blockbuster had market dominance, brand recognition, and 9,000 locations. They had no moat worth defending, a positioning built on convenience rather than love, and a culture that rewarded late fee revenue over customer satisfaction.
When Netflix removed the late fee problem, they didn't just lose customers, they lost the reason they existed.
You're losing. Right now. Today. And the worst part is, you're probably losing to someone with a worse product. Here's the thing about that sentence. It's still true, but now you know why. It's not the better product that wins, it's the product with the clearer answer to why you. The wider moat, the sharper position, the tighter execution. Your product being better is table stakes. It's not strategy. Strategy is the system that makes your advantage permanent, visible, and compounding. Most people running businesses will never sit down and seriously answer the three questions. Why will someone choose us? Why will that choice be hard to reverse? How do we make the gap wider over time? They'll stay operational. They'll stay reactive. They'll stay busy. You don't have to do that anymore. If you got value from this, hit subscribe. We break down business, finance, and economics every week.
Drop a comment. What should we explain next? Thanks for watching. See you in the next.